welcome back to the Meeple Marathon. Ladies and gentlemen, Clank Catacombs has arrived. So this is the first Clank game that we've gotten since Acquisitions Incorporated. And I'm not 100% sure if Direwolf had already gone off from Renegade for Acquisitions Incorporated or not. But this is the first kind of non-legacy version of Clank that is Direwolf all on their own. So Renegade's no longer helping them publish the games. They've gone off on their own. But this is the same old Clank, but with a twist. So if we flip this over here, you'll see that the board is modular. So the board is actually a bunch of smaller boards that you flip over at random, and they're all going to be connecting via these paths. So you might hit a dead end unexpectedly, or find a really nice treasure early on. Who knows? It's the dungeon, the catacombs per se, are going to change every game. Also, you'll notice here that it says 2 to 4 players, 13 plus, but they announced at the time that they announced the game, they said that they would be supporting the game in their app, in their companion app, for a solo campaign, and they have already gone ahead and done that. I haven't looked into it, but I did open up the companion app, the Direwolf companion app, and checked it out. So this is soloable before we get any further. All right, we have our rule book here. From what I understand, this is pretty much standard Clank, which is, in my opinion, one of the best and cleanest deck building games out there. If you're not familiar with a deck builder, essentially you're spending in-game currency to buy cards to add to your deck every turn, and you're also using those cards to, in this game in particular, move around the catacombs, defeat bad guys, all in hopes of picking up the best treasure and then making it out before the dragon eats you alive. Token reference guide, always handy for the various tokens. And then we have some cellophane and some baggies. We've got some cubes here, and here is our dragon. So that's a fun one. Fun color for the kind of catacombs one. More than likely, you can find stickers for these guys on Etsy. Pretty cheap, just a fun way to upgrade your Meeple. Or if you happen to have Acquisitions Incorporated, you can pull out the miniature bust. There is the Clank bag here. So these cubes are for the there are white ones. So there's standard cubes, I believe there's the black ones, and there's the white ones, which are ghosts. And then there's 4 player colors here. When you make a noise in the catacombs, you're going to have to throw a cube into your bag here, and then when certain events happen in the game, you're going to pull out cubes blindly, and any cube that is pulled out becomes damage on your board. So you can't just run around the dungeon forever. And then we have some cards here. So this looks like, cards could fit on both sides. You could easily tuck these away. So there's a lot of good room for expansion material. I am not 100% sure whether or not previous Clank iterations are compatible or not. If I figure that out, I'll put a note in the comments section below. But let's push this off to the side here. We'll take a look at those cards in a second. And let's take a look at what's in here. Okay, so here is your tracker that not only tells you where you start, so where the dragon starts depending on your player count, and this is how many cubes you're going to be pulling out of the bag when that event happens, and this is your health tracker for the individual people. So you can see as cubes are placed along here, if you make it to the death, you die in the catacombs on the back. And this is probably just an area to collect the Clank, because usually you have to place Clank out into the catacombs and it'll sit there. And there are ways for you to get the Clank back, to get the cubes back before they go into the bag. So when you make Clank, you put them here, and then right before the event happens, you take all the Clank that's here, dump it in the bag, and go from there. All right, so here we have one of the things that they have added to this version of Clank that I don't believe is in previous versions is these people who you can rescue. So you can find, like prison cells within the catacombs, and you can rescue prisoners, and they're going to give you certain benefits. I'm pretty sure you just flip them over at random. Yeah, because here you can see they all look like this. Here is, the backside, so that all of your tiles, like so, are completely randomized, and most of them should have, a way to come in 2 sides on each, and whether they hit a dead end or not is, entirely random. So these are going to make up the dungeon. We also have some lock picks here, so if you have a lock pick, these are just tokens that you could spend in order to unlock a door, get through a certain thing. Here we see more people you can rescue. Here's probably a swift potion or something like that. All right, we've got some money that you can spend here. You can accumulate these coins and then spend them in addition to the in-game currency that's on the cards. More money, more dungeon tiles. Lots of money. Even more money. Here you can see, places like this where these little creature symbols are simply to move from here into here or vice versa. To travel along this path, you have to be able to accumulate at least 2 attack, or in this case 3 attack. That's not the only time you would use attack, but that's just a situation. Here you can see the ghosts. These are going to be those white cubes that come out. I believe when a white cube comes out, it damages everybody and then possibly goes back into the bag. And then here we have, this is always the starting tile here. So everybody's going to start, I believe, right here in this. And so have to enter here. You could wrap back around behind it, but this is your entrance and exit to the catacombs. And then a whole bunch of other tokens. You've got your market here that if you hit certain spaces where you can spend that money, certain treasures will be here that you can pick up. And then you're going to see here, like things like this are what you are attempting to obtain. So like obviously if you can find it, the 20.1 would garner you a lot of victory points at the end of the game. Clank essentially is a competitive deck builder. Your hope is to go in, get the highest ranked thing, and get out fast. When first person that gets out starts making life a lot more difficult for everyone else. There's a backside to this, which is interesting. I wonder if it's thematically different or just looks different. All right, so that's all the cardboard, and we've already looked at the cubes. Clank's a pretty straightforward game, which is another nice thing about it. So let's get these guys out. Take a look at the cards now. Okay, so being a deck builder, there is lots of cards. The cards are, at least in this iteration, can all be purchased and added to your deck, except for ones like these, the monsters, which we'll talk about here in a second. So here's some examples of some of your starting cards. For example, Burgle's going to give you 1 in-game currency on that turn. Stumble, this is one that, again, if this is in your hand, you have to play this. So this is almost like a wound card in other deck builders. You have to play this, which is going to force you to throw a cube in. If there's a way to cull cards, you would obviously want to aim to cull your stumbles first. Sidestep, this gives you a single point of movement. Your scramble's giving you a coin and a movement. And I believe, is there any attack? Nope. Okay, so that's most of it there. Yep. And so everybody's going to have the same starting hand to begin the game with. Then you're going to get, set these guys off to the side. You're going to have a row of cards out that you can purchase from. These are going to be completely shuffled up and random. The purchasing amount is here, so you would need 4 of this in-game currency in order to purchase this card, for example. This one would then give you 2, but then there's also this text here, so if you happen to play him and you've got Clank out, you can then take back 2 Clank. If you have a secret tome in your play area or discard pile, draw 2 cards. Also, one of the really nice things that is fun to review as you play a game of Clank is they do a really good job with the flavor text down here. He'll help you out if you keep it secret, strictly hush hush. You know, that one's not as good a dungeon excursion. This profitable should be in an official chronicle. I really liked the ones that were in Clank in Space because they were very, you know, Star Wars, Star Trek themed. So here is an example of one that also comes with attack. So he's going to give you 2 money, 1 attack, and 1 movement. Pretty good. He's going to cost 5, 2 victory points at the end of the game. This is an icon I'm sure that would mean something if you're looking for set collections, things like that. He, for example, is if you have another companion in your play area, draw a card. So here you can see all of these cards basically have a mixture of some of these symbols, or some even, let me see if I can find one here, doesn't have anything. It's going to give you endgame points, but it also, well, it's a lute, it's making noise, so you're going to make noise, but it allows you to draw 2 cards, and for each clank you make this turn, you make money. But then there's also cards like this one over here, which is going to give you 4 swords, so you can really take down somebody with this one. But there is, here's an example of one that's mainly just for victory points, but also allows you to, when you acquire this, you have to, you make noise when you gain the fiery quartz, but then when you play it again, it's going to reduce those and allow you to draw a card. I'm sure there's more in here that feel like they're just victory points. Then there's people like the Mercenary. This is going to be a stack of cards that's always off to the side next to that market row. So you could always purchase this guy for 2. Or your Explorer card, you could always purchase this card for 3. Let me see if that's all of them. Yep, and here's one of those examples of a card that is purely for victory points. So if you're playing competitively, you could add this to your hand for 7. It's going to give you a massive 7 points at the end of the game, but it doesn't give you any benefit when it actually is drawn in your hand. So yeah, there's just a whole bunch of secret tomes. There's probably a certain number of these. Actually, this is probably a stack that also is placed off to the side. If you have a ton of money near the end of the game, go ahead and pick one up. And then last but not least, you have your monsters. So these are going to come out, and these are going to, if I could, there's got to be, yeah, here we go. For example, when a card with this dragon symbol comes out, that's when you take the clank, add it to the bag, and draw out to inflict damage on people. Once this card is out, it just sits there. That symbol doesn't do anything. But these guys, as they sit out, some might have ongoing effects that are negative effects, but for the most part, when you defeat them, you gain stuff. For example, if you had 2 attack, you could simply, instead of spending your in-game currency, you would spend your attack to take out this guy and gain a lockpick. Here, if you defeat this skeleton, you're going to get 2 money, but you made a clank. I believe it's probably this guy that's just going to sit off to the side. He will never be completely removed. Yeah, don't discard after fighting. So you can defeat him with 2 attack and gain a coin. He's a easy way that if you just have 2 swords that you got nothing else to do with, you can always attack the little goblin. But anyways, there's a whole mixture of these that you can add in. I don't know whether or not you're supposed to be adding them all in or not. And not even all of these. Some of these are devices. That's new. I've never seen a device before. Use -2 clank. So we'll have to check out what is to see what devices do, because that's a keyword I'm not familiar with. And then there are companions. The bards obviously making a lot of clank. So yeah, that is gonna do it. A very simple and straightforward unboxing. Again, it's just a pretty decent size deck of cards along with those modular boards. So up next, we will be doing a probably a storage solution video, since there's nothing but just a cardboard insert in the box, and then we'll certainly be doing a how to play video. And for those of you who already know how to play Clank, we also will be covering the solo portion of the game, showing off that companion app, seeing how it works. So if you are in the mood for some Clank content here in the future, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.